I was already in the garage when my hands started shaking. Not fear, recognition, the kind that crawls up your spine when a puzzle finally locks into place. Like, comment, and subscribe Huna Stories for more stories. The box was still warm from my son's hands when I opened it. Small, black, expensive, the kind of packaging meant to impress adults, not children. Inside was a phone. Not a toy, not a spare. A brand new smartphone. No parental controls, no tracking, no SIM yet, just potential. I closed the box quietly, carefully like it might explode if I didn't respect it. Then I walked out of the room. My wife found me leaning against the workbench, staring at nothing. She said my name twice before I heard her. I handed her the box without a word. She opened it. Her breath left her body in a sound I'd never heard before. She dropped it. We didn't argue. We didn't talk. We got into the car. I met my mother-in-law 15 years ago at a dinner where she smiled too much and watched too closely. She hugged me like she was measuring something. Strength, weakness, future leverage. She called me dear before she learned my last name. Back then, I thought she was just overbearing, protective, the kind of woman who believed her love justified intrusion. I told myself it came from fear of losing her daughter. I was wrong. It came from hunger. She needed control the way other people need air over her daughter, over her grandchildren, over narratives, over outcomes. And I let her babysit. I let her advise. I let her help. Every boundary I didn't enforce became a brick she stepped on. I see that now. The first crack appeared months earlier. My son started closing doors. He flinched when notifications chimed, hid screens, laughed at jokes no one else heard. He started asking questions that didn't sound like his own. Adult questions, loaded questions. Why don't you like grandma as much as mom does? Why do you and mom fight about money? Why do you get quiet when she comes over? I answered calmly, always calmly. But I started watching. I noticed how my mother-in-law leaned close when she whispered to him. How she dismissed me in front of him with jokes that weren't jokes. How she called my wife alone more often. How she framed concern as authority. And then came the wink. Open it when you're alone. That wasn't affection. That was instruction. That night, while my wife drove, I opened the phone. No lock. She'd wanted him to explore. Messages were already there. Drafts, notes, reminders, accounts preloaded, a cloud drive full of screenshots, conversations taken out of context, photos cropped to suggest distance, coldness, absence, a narrative, and buried deep in a folder labeled for later. A contact saved as grandma safe with instructions. If they take the phone, go here. If you feel unsafe, message me. If daddy gets angry, record. My vision narrowed. This wasn't a gift. It was a weapon. I didn't confront her. Not then. I started planning. I backed up everything. Metadata, IP logs, timestamps, purchase records. I cloned the phone and wiped it clean before my son ever noticed it missing. I booked a consultation, then another. I spoke softly. I asked precise questions. I learned which lines mattered and which didn't. I watched my wife grieve quietly. The betrayal cut deeper for her. This was her mother, her anchor, her history. I gave her time and then we moved. The execution was surgical. First, we documented patterns, messages, visits, language shifts in our son, therapy notes, school reports. We didn't exaggerate. We didn't editorialize. Facts are heavier when you don't dress them up. Then we changed access slowly. Missed calls, shorter visits, neutral excuses, nothing that looked like retaliation. I let her think she was losing control because she hadn't pushed hard enough yet. Predictable. She escalated. That's when we invited her to dinner. neutral ground, smiles, dessert, and the phone. I slid the box across the table. Her smile faltered just for a second. Enough. I asked her to explain. She laughed first, then scolded, then accused. When that didn't work, she cried. I waited. Then I played the audio. Her voice coaching, directing, manipulating. Silence swallowed the room. The confrontation wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. I told her she would no longer see my son unsupervised. That any further attempts at contact would go through counsel, that everything was documented, that escalation would end badly for her. She threatened grandparents' rights. I slid over the file. She went quiet. For the first time since I met her, she had no leverage. The aftermath was clean. No shouting, no public scenes, just consequences. My son slept better within weeks, laughed easier, asked fewer guarded questions. My wife cried once, then stood taller. And me, I learned something vital. Betrayal doesn't always come screaming. Sometimes it comes wrapped in a bow handed to your child with a wink. Justice doesn't require rage. It requires patience. And when I close my eyes now, I don't see her face. I see the moment the box left her hands. And I remember exactly when I took my power back. Thanks for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe Huna Stories for more stories.